Judicial Review under the U.S. Constitution. Introduction. The Supreme Court of the USA has the power to review and declare any act of the President or any law passed by Congress null and void if it contradicts the provisions of the Constitution. In the words of Max Lerner, judicial review is presumably America's most beautiful and original gift to the art of government. The Constitution has not expressly given it this power, but the Supreme Court has acquired it through its interpretation of the Constitution. Meaning of judicial review according to Black's Law Dictionary: judicial review is a court's power to review the actions of other branches or levels of government, especially the court's power to invalidate legislative and executive actions as being unconstitutional. Judicial review in the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution of the U.S. has not expressly granted the power of judicial review to the courts, but it seems to grant it indirectly in its provisions. A. Article 3, Section 2, the judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity, arising under this Constitution. B. Article Vi, this Constitution and the law of the United States shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Origin of judicial review. The power of judicial review was exercised by the court for the first time in 1803 in the following case: Marbury v. Madison, 1803. A. Facts of the case. 1. President Adams appointed Marbury as a justice of the peace in the District of Columbia on the last day of his office, but the commission could not be delivered to him. 2. The next president, Jefferson, and his Secretary of State, Madison, refused to deliver the commission to Marbury. 3. Marbury petitioned the Supreme Court for a writ of mandamus under the Judiciary Act of 1798. B. Decision of the case. The Supreme Court, presided over by John Marshall, held that Marbury was entitled to a commission but had no authority to grant a writ of mandamus because the provisions of the Judiciary Act of 1789, which empowered the Supreme Court to issue a writ of mandamus, violated the constitutional provisions of Article 3, and to this extent, this Act of Congress was null and void. C. Brief arguments of Chief Marshal. 1. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and the judges are bound to give effect to it. 2. Any law passed by Congress opposed to any provision of the Constitution was null and void and not binding on the court. 3. It was the duty of the court to declare any law illegal and void if it violated any provision of the Constitution. Scope of judicial review. A. Judicial review applies to federal and state laws. B. It also applies to the Constitution of the state. C. It also applies to treaties made by the federal government. D. It also applies to orders issued by the federal and state executive authorities. Reasons for exercising judicial review. The following are the reasons for the exercise of powers of judicial review. A. To keep Congress and the President within the limits of their powers. B. To enlarge and strengthen the authority of the federal government. C. To defend the rights of property. D. To defend civil liberties and rights. Exercise of judicial review in the judicial field. The following things are essential for the exercise of judicial review. A. There must be two parties to a dispute before the court. B. The decision turns on the provisions of a particular statute. C. The provisions of a statute must be invalid, such as against the Constitution. Importance of judicial review. The importance of powers of judicial review lies in the fact that due to this power, the Supreme Court has become the guardian of the Constitution and has played a vital role in its development. It protects the Constitution and its supremacy against the laws of the center or the states that conflict with or contravene its provisions. Criticism on Doctrine. The excessive use of powers of judicial review has raised criticism on the following points. A. The Supreme Court's role as the supreme legislature. The critics contend that the Supreme Court has expanded its authority to such an extent that it has become a non-elective super-legislature. B. One-man tyranny. Judicial review may be the result of one-man tyranny. 5 judges may hold a law unconstitutional, and 4 may hold it valid. Thus, the decision rests with one man who holds office for life and is not responsible to the voters. C. Social progress. The decisions of the Supreme Court on constitutional questions often clog the wheel of progress. D. Stress only on legal aspects. The judges stress more legal aspects and tend to overlook other aspects such as social, economic etc. while declaring the law null and void.